Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're going to completely flip how you view the very act of thinking. We're looking at a fascinating 2005 philosophical framework by Zhu Feng, and it's called Thinking is a Magical Power. We're going to unpack these invisible, everyday forces that silently dictate our reality because, as you'll see, mere concepts can actually hold way more weight than the physical world itself.
So let's kick things off with a legendary myth. Picture this. For over 500 years, the Monkey King Sun Wukong was trapped under the crushing weight of the five-element mountain. He literally couldn't move a single muscle under millions of tons of solid rock. But here's the crazy part. His ultimate release didn't come from some massive physical force. No, it happened when a Tang priest simply peeled off a little paper post bearing a specific incantation, Om Mani Padme Hum. Just like that, in a split second, the spell was broken and he broke free.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating about this contrast is the sheer scale of it. On one hand, you've got this immeasurable, world-crushing physical weight of an entire mountain, and on the other, the mental weight of a tiny piece of paper. Shui Feng uses this really profound story to ask a big question. How on earth could a simple paper post carry more paralyzing power than solid rock? I mean, it totally defies basic physics, right? But the framework suggests the real cage holding him down wasn't the stone at all, it was the spell.
Let's bring this ancient myth down to stark human reality for a second. To really wrap our heads around how a mental concept can actually weigh more than a physical object, just imagine someone living happily. They're full of energy, completely unaware that they harbor a severe disease. Now imagine the exact moment they're told the truth of that diagnosis. Boom. Instantly, they collapse. They are completely paralyzed. You see, it wasn't the physical progression of the disease that suddenly crushed them right then and there. It was the devastating weight of the knowledge. The moment their hopes were dashed, their physical reality just entirely collapsed. Zhu Feng actually grounds this abstract concept with a really relatable anecdote from his own village. It's about this young boy, maybe 11 or 12 years old. So every single day on his way home from school, this kid had to cross a small, completely ordinary bridge. Nothing special about it. But every time he approached it, his face would turn completely pale, and he would just start screaming in absolute terror. And we're talking broad daylight here. So why was he screaming? What invisible force could possibly cause a child such uncontrollable terror on a totally empty bridge on a sunny afternoon? Take a second and just think about what kind of physical danger might actually provoke that intense of a visceral reaction.
Well, the answer wasn't physical at all. It turns out the boy had overheard some adults casually gossiping that headless ghosts lived under all the small bridges. And that's it. Just words. But those casual words had woven this inescapable spell in his mind. The ghost didn't even need to be real to completely control his behavior. His thinking was totally captured by an idea. It's a perfect demonstration of how an invisible, illusory concept can just entirely dictate our physical reality.
And honestly, if you think about it, our own thinking is confined every single day by everyday incantations just like that one. To illustrate this, the framework points to the 8 kinds of suffering described in Buddhism, things like aging, illness, separation, and unfulfilled pursuits. Now, the author doesn't present these as strict theological dogmas, but rather as universal examples. They show how the human mind feels trapped by its environment, literally bound by the spells of the reality we just blindly accept.
According to Zhu Feng, we experience these sufferings entirely because of our conventional thinking. See, conventional thinking traps us because we accept the rules, the losses, the physical decline. We see them as absolute cages. But the text proposes this genuinely fascinating counter-idea. What if we could somehow embrace unconventional thinking? If we could just step outside of those accepted mental boundaries, theoretically, none of these sufferings would even exist. The cage door would just swing wide open.
Moving to a broader scale, Shui Feng takes this idea of mental confinement and applies it to the very structures of our society. These are our invisible chains, really. Laws, ethics, authoritative theories, religious rituals, and, even scientific methods. In this framework, all of these societal constructs are categorized entirely impartially. He calls them magical powers. They're basically external rules that completely constrain and dictate exactly how we operate as human beings.
So the crucial point here is that these constructs have a very distinct dual nature. On one hand, they're absolutely vital, right? They maintain social stability. I mean, without laws or shared ethics, society would pretty much crumble. But on the flip side, they bind our minds completely. The text actually uses this brilliant metaphor. Ordinary people can no more be freed from these societal chains than a fish can be freed from water. We are literally swimming in these rules, entirely constrained by them, yet we're mostly completely unaware of the water itself.
All of this naturally leads us to the core mystery of the text. We've thrown the term around a few times now, but what exactly are magical powers? If society's rules and casual gossip about ghosts both count, how do they mechanically function to trap us? How do they act like that paper post pinning down the Monkey King?
Well, here's the exact definition provided by the framework. Magical powers are simply informational waves that restrain people's thinking. Ultimately, it's all about energy. Think about getting one of those sudden, "we need to talk" text messages from your boss or your partner. On a physical level, it's just pixels on the screen. But the energy of that informational wave, it completely overpowers your own conscious waves. Your stomach instantly drops. You are controlled by it, totally unable to break free from its overwhelming frequency.
So, where exactly do these overpowering waves come from? The text points to some massive sources of influence: gods, Buddha, great historical figures, and great scientists. Because the energy of their accepted thought is just so immense, ordinary people naturally fall right in line. And according to this framework, the absolute only way out is if your own individual wisdom and thinking abilities manage to somehow exceed the sheer energy of those external waves.
And this brilliantly illustrates the author's ultimate conclusion. See, thinking seems invisible, traceless, and totally illusory. It feels weightless, but in reality, it has the power to actually change the developmental directions and forms of objects. It literally transforms the intangible into the tangible. Just like the boy paralyzed by a made-up ghost or the patient crushed by a sudden diagnosis, invisible thinking completely and utterly dictates our physical reality.
Which leaves us with one final vital question to really ponder as we wrap up this explainer. What invisible, informational waves are controlling your reality right now? What paper posts have you allowed to pin you down under a mountain of conventional thinking? I really hope this framework challenges you to examine those invisible forces shaping your world. Thank you so much for exploring this with me, and hey, keep questioning the water around you.